Welcome to Rally the Tartans, where ancient echoes rise with every throw, where clans gather, steel meets stone, and the past walks beside us. We're lifting culture, throwing tradition, and celebrating the warriors, the history, and the heart of the Highland Games. I'm your host, Michael Paul Wolfgar Lewis. Let's rally the Tartans. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Rally the Tartans. Somehow we've made it to episode 6, and I had another blunder that I'll be glad to tell you about. I should be bringing you an interview with one of the top female competitors, but somehow my Zoom video audio file was corrupted, and no matter how long I tried, I could not get it to convert to add it into this episode. So we're going to change a couple things up. Kendra and I are going to redo the interview for you guys because it was just a quality conversation. I am heartbroken that I was not able to put that out and you know, allow you guys to be a part of the amazing conversation that we had. But that's kind of how we got here. Again, the last 2 episodes, the one before this one and this one here, coming out a couple days late because of those errors. And one of my biggest thing was consistency with this program. So I have to deeply apologize to you guys. I am going to fix it. I am going to do better. It was completely my fault. But that allows me to kind of have a winging it kind of conversation with you all today. And I'm not just going to wing it and just fill it full of nonsense. We have some things to talk about. First off, I have to give a huge shout out to every Highland Games podcast that came before us. Heavy Light with Mike Beach, Trig Talk with Bailio, Hayden Bailio, Throws Genius with Janine, Going Rogue over there with Jeremy, 9 Point Day, Life Behind the Trig, all these guys, the guys and girls, of course, the amount of time and effort they put into producing a podcast. I understand how hard it is, how taxing it is. This is not like some big to-do on Spotify or wherever you're streaming it. It's not like we have thousands of fans and we're monetizing it and making money. We do this simply for the love of the sport and wanting to see it move forward. So for all those Highland Game podcasts out there that have started and finished their careers, and for the ones still going, I thank you very much for what you've done. I thank you for what you do, and all of us still trying to produce a show that is exciting enough for you guys to take time out of your day to listen to us ramble about these wonderful 9 events that we all love and kind of love-hate relationship with. We thank you for that. So, getting into that is kind of what I want to talk about today. Today's episode, we are going to touch on the video aspect of the Highland Games. Something that I completely understand. Recently, we have had one of the bigger games, the Masters World Championship. Really important to me for what I do because I'm a Masters Highland Game athlete. So it was very near and dear to my heart. I couldn't get there because I am also a football coach. You guys have heard me. End of the year, fall. We are in the thick of season. Just a quick shout out for anybody actually following along. We did win our conference outright. Super proud of our team for that. And we look to make a run in the Indiana State playoffs. So we'll see how the team does there. Regardless, though, I definitely want to talk about the Masters Highland Games. Danny Webster, the AD, he is one of the most creative ADs. We are going to be having a conversation with him shortly. One of our very next episode is going to be with Danny Webster. He is a pioneer, in my opinion, for the Highland Games and everything we do. He was born out of COVID and created something that I think is spectacular for us. And when he announced that they're not going to have video for that Masters World Championship, I was absolutely heartbroken because I couldn't get out there and I wanted to see it. I know quite a few people that were participating. And I thought to myself, how can we change that? Where can we go to make it easier for us to be spectators of this sport that we absolutely love? And I didn't want to bring up a problem without giving a solution. So I thought about it, and I thought long and hard. And while I was thinking about it, I was watching football video, right? From one of our opponents that we are going to or that we did face this past weekend. So I thought, as I was watching Huddy, HUDI, I believe is, or Huddle is what it is, HUDL. I'm sorry. It's a system that our school uses, our football team uses, to get video of our film. A lot of the other high schools here in the region use it as well for their film. We sometimes trade film on each other to let each other prepare a little bit better. And I thought, why couldn't we use some sort of service like that? There is a lot of services out there. VO, VEO is another one for soccer. I know a lot of soccer people in the area that use that. There's a brand called Trace. A lot of different options out there for us to kind of invest into. Now, I don't know if you could have one AD obviously afford to do this all, so it would have to be some sort of collective, right? And there's a lot of different groups out there. The Foundation of Scottish Athletes that are very prevalent in Florida and I believe Georgia. You have the Mountain West Scottish Association. There's the big one in California. I want to see some of these foundations and these organizations that are promoting Scottish athletics. It's time that we move into the future. All right. And we start videoing this and maybe not going live, but putting on some sort of production of what we're putting out on the field. I think the athletes deserve it. We have some amazing athletes in this game. I'm talking about people that work their tails off all year round, and then you only show it to the people that come to the event. I get it, right? It's a niche sport, but how are we going to attract more people to this sport unless we get it out there to the masses, unless we have video clips like a Sports Center reel of who did what, who broke a world record? Why can't we have that on video? So that's my problem with it. That's my solution for it is kind of taking from other sports what they do best to share those videos in their communities and applying it to ours. Actually, I'm working on the FFA 107 exam right now so I can get my drone license, so I can make sure that the next Highland Games I go to, with the AD's permission, that I will be able to fly it over the competition field. I mean, could you imagine getting some shots of a sheaf toss with a drone? In my head, I think it looks pretty amazing. I don't know if you can visualize that or not, but imagine following a hammer flying through the air with a drone. That's going to be some pretty spectacular footage if we can do it right. So I'm trying to put my money where my mouth is. I'm trying to make sure that I add not only to the conversation, but to the boots on the ground. It's all about growing. That's exactly what we have to do as a sport, right? There's hundreds of people that come visit us or watch us at these large events. Some of our backyard events get under 100 people watching. So what can we do to change that, right? What can we do to make it more alluring to people to come out? And to me, that's getting better video, getting better representation on social medias, getting our own shows. I would love for the first 30, 40 minutes of Rally the Tartans to just be a highlight reel of all these badass athletes all across the country, men, women, juniors, adaptive sport athletes, and showing what they've put so much time and effort into and really highlight them like they deserve. Now, that's just my opinion, okay? There's going to be people out there saying, well, Michael, this is not what we want to hear. This is not what we want to do. We're just hanging out and having fun. And I get that. I get that some people just do this to stay busy so they have some kind of hobby. But to me, this is a legitimate sport. I honestly believe that ESPN should be featuring some of our big competitions, our championships, our masters, our lightweights, all those championships that we have going on, they deserve a little bit of love on a bigger stage. So again, that's just me thinking about it, right? What is one problem that we have? What, how do we correct that? And I think that's a pretty good option. Let me know in the comments. All right, whether you're on one of our streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, let me know in the comments what you think about that idea right there. That's the problem. That's the idea. Now then, just kind of moving forward, right? How do we invite folks out? What are we doing to grow the sport? Is there any way for us to link Olympic throwing to what we do? Has anybody invited Joe Kovacs or Ryan Krauser out to a Highland Games just so they could be there and see it and maybe be the guest of honor for the day? I mean, again, track and field, kind of a niche sport. It's on ESPN. It's rolling constantly. Right? You can go out and see all types of film from them. Throwing bombs. Look, man, we've even had so many females here in this past few months throw over 20 meters. So again, it's starting to gain popularity. There are some amazing athletes out there. What are we doing to bring them in? Guys, how are we inviting our local high school out to some of these Highland Games? The Indianapolis Highland Games has 32 different high schools within a 20-minute drive of them that they should be inviting out those track and field athletes, those shot put athletes, those discus athletes, those people that, in Indiana, we do indoor, so we're throwing weight for distance on indoor track and field. Why aren't we inviting those coaches out and those kids out and those athletes out to see where this sport actually originated? It's an option, something we could do. Now, again, most of these ADs are all voluntary. It's not like we're all getting paid a bunch of money. But how do we grow the sport? How do we get more folks out? And I think that is an answer to that problem. We have to start in the community, inviting the people that are already throwing out. They're throwing the shot put. Let's see what they do with a stone, right? Give them a little demo. The second part is that video visual. Maybe they don't want to spend a whole day going to something that they're not sure of, but if they start seeing those highlight clips on social media, on YouTube, I think it's going to gain a lot of attention, and it's going to be a lot faster than the way we've been growing so far. I could be wrong. That's just me. Like I said, it's, just some things that I've been thinking about is how do we work on that live coverage, that visibility part, and then how do we get more folks into the Highland Games? Now, I know there's two segments of athletes. There's athletes of like myself that do it to connect to their past, to connect to their culture, to connect to their family. And then you got athletes out there that simply do it because they want to win every time they step on the field. And I respect both of those. I really do. And some throwers don't. Some throwers just want to win. And if you're out there like me that's just trying to, stay active and stay healthy and stay competitive because, I've podiumed and hit third before, but I still want to go whether I podium or not, because again, to me, it is the community that I thrive off of. The people out there that walk up to me and give me some advice on how to make a better throw that next throw. And I know I'm breaking one of KO's golden rules is amateurs shouldn't take advice from amateurs, but I don't have any false illusion that I'm going pro anytime soon. We'll save that for all those bigger names that we hope to have on here, in the near future, of course. And as long as I don't mess up the interviews, sorry, Miss Kendra, we'll have your interview squared away and wrapped up here as soon as possible and on the show. But those are just some ramblings that I was definitely thinking about. Where are we going with this? Why is this not a mainstream thing? Because to me, Ren fairs have amazing turnouts. Highland Games should have even better turnouts because it's a little bit of the Ren Fair and a whole lot of the amazing athletics. And the strongman competitions are huge now. I remember watching the strongman competitions with my dad as a kid in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and it's no longer a niche sport. There are gyms popped up all over the country just for strong men and strong women, right? We should be feeding off of that. We should all be sitting at the same table. I think that's how we're going to make sure that this goes from a niche sport to a, every day, every weekend we're seeing some awesome video. So, I guess that leads me to a little bit of Trig Talk. Not the podcast, of course. If you want to get over to their podcast, Trig Talk, there's a great library from those shows that they did. But Danny Webster, athletic director from Backyard Rebellion, has kind of changed the game, and he has moved from a standard trig to a wing trig. So I kind of want some feedback from the gallery, from everybody out there listening. What is your take on the trig? To me, a standard trig is what I started on. And while I would like to say, hey, it's tradition, that's why we use the standard trig. Well, if you go to Scotland, they don't do the sheaf toss over there. It's not part of their original Highland Games. We do it here. So I'm not necessarily sold on, hey, we have to do the standard trig, because of tradition. Might be what we're used to. I personally believe the wing trig gives you a bigger, maybe not a bigger box, but a bigger sector for sure. It allows your throws to go a little bit wider than what they normally would. And for a big guy like me that needs a little extra room, it keeps me from fouling out. So to me, I think it's a good thing. Again, I'm just trying to drive some conversation from the community that's listening. What do you think about the trigs? What are we going to do with those? Right? What's your take on that? Now, we could also talk about the equipment consistency. I love the idea that the stones are different everywhere you go. But now there's not very many equipment makers, and I have seen so many different types of weights out there. Should there be a standard? Should we have some sort of metric? Now, your weight for distance and your weight over bar, obviously there's different lengths in the chain. But then I've seen little pancake weights. I've seen triangle weights that look like pyramids. I've seen balls, right? Just kind of like a fatter shot put, just a 56-pound ball. Should we have some sort of consistency inside of the weights as well? Right? Just a thought. You guys tell me in the comments, because I want to kind of dig into this. I want to dig into this a whole lot more. And we plan to with some of the guests that we have coming up. So don't think it's just going to be me rambling all the time. Which is probably a good segue to kind of let you know that we're looking for... Whoops. Sorry about that. Made a little error on the video there. We are, when I say we, I guess it's just me and my family that kind of work on the podcast. But I think we're going to start looking for some extra commentators when we bring up the Highland Games. When we're talking about these cities and these towns, I would like to have a little bit of back and forth with some folks. So just be on the lookout on some of our social media for a call to arms to say on who might want to talk about the local games coming up and throw out some other opinions, because I don't want this to be stale. I don't want it to be just my opinion on the Highland Games. Again, this is a vibrant, thriving community, and we just want to see it grow. So finding somebody else to help us make it grow is going to be a great opportunity for us. Now, speaking on that, we don't have a lot of Highland Games centric podcast out there. We've had like I mentioned earlier, we've had a few, and then you've had some awesome ones like the Iron Palace podcast have on Highland Games experts or Highland Games members and things of that nature. So that's just something that we can do as a community to make things better. Nonetheless, we are going to get into quite a few other things today, just to keep it going and to keep it fluid. But I would like to take a moment for our very new sponsors. To our listeners in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana, please reach out to Andrew Mullis State Farm for your auto, home, health, and life insurance needs. You can reach them at 502-449-4300. That's Andrew Mullis State Farm, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana. You can always find Wolfgar Concealment, leader in constitutional carry training for you in the comfort of your own home. Please visit wolfgarconcealment.com for all of your online training needs. And now back to the hammer throw, the origins and evolution. Before there were gold medals and cages, before spinning circles and carbon fiber handles, there was the Highland hammer, a brutal blend of art and war, of tradition and might. Today we're diving into one of the most iconic and thunderous events in Highland Games athletics, the hammer throw. So grab your blades, plant your feet, and let's swing through time. The hammer has some of the oldest origins in human sport. Tracking back over 2,000 years, Celtic warriors were known to hurl heavy stones, sledgehammers, or even chariot wheels as displays of strength and skill. Legend has it that Cormac MacAtar, the High King of Ireland, once grabbed a chariot wheel by its axle and launched it across the field. A mythic moment that may have inspired the very idea of the hammer throw today. In those early days, it wasn't just about competition. It was about proving your worth, strength for battle, honor for the clan, and reputation for generations. Fast forward to Scotland, where the event became a defining feature of the Highland Games. Here, the hammer wasn't swung with spins like the Olympic version. Instead, athletes planted their feet, solid as the stones beneath them, and swing the hammer around their head before releasing it downfield. The traditional Highland hammer has a 4-foot wooden shaft with a metal or stone head. The weights are standardized, 16 pounds for amateurs and 22 pounds for professionals. In our Highland Games, it's the heavy and light hammer throw. And to stay anchored, modern athletes wear boots with blades. Think golf cleats on steroids. It's raw power fused with old world technique. As athletics have evolved in the late 19th century, so did the hammer. When the event entered the modern Olympic Games in the 1900s, it took on a new form. The wooden shaft was replaced by a steel wire and handle, allowing the now famous spinning technique inside the throwing circle. While both share the same ancestral spirit, the Olympic hammer throws become a test of precision physics, while the Highland hammer remains a living symbol of Scottish tradition. In Celtic mythology, the hammer has always symbolized power, protection, and craftsmanship, much like Thor's Mjolnir in Norse legend. But for the Highlanders, it carried an even deeper purpose. The hammer toss wasn't just a show of strength, it was a rite of passage, a way to test warriors, select leaders, or even settle disputes amongst clans. Some scholars believe those contests had Druid roots, where strength and spirit were one and the same. So when a thrower steps onto the field today, they're not just competing, they're connecting to something ancient, something sacred. From the Braemar Gathering to the Loon Mountain Highland Games, the hammer throw remains one of the sport's showpieces. Top athletes can launch a hammer over 140 feet, blending brute power, flawless timing, and fearless tradition. It's a crowd favorite. The whirling motion, the roar of effort, and occasionally a hammer landing in the bushes, or maybe even near a tent. It's part of the charm, and the danger of the games. The hammer throw is the only Highland event where the athlete's feet never move. It's also the only event using grounded blades for grip and balance. Some call it a ballet with a cannonball, a perfect blend of grace, timing, and explosive power. And many throwers personalize their hammers with clan crest or inscriptions, a nod to the ancestral tool once used for battle and craft alike. From myth to modern sport, the hammer throw stands as a living bridge between past and present, a reminder that strength isn't just measured in distance but in legacy. So whether you're throwing in the Highlands, training in your backyard, or just watching in awe, remember, every swing carries the echoes of warriors, kings, and clans that came before. This is the hammer throw. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for tuning in for another episode of Rally the Tartans. It is a great honor to do this, to be a part of this community, and for so many of you to actually listen and actually care about it. We have started getting comments on our YouTube pages, our Facebook pages, even comments on Spotify. And I cannot thank you all enough. I hope I've done you proud, and I can't wait to join you again for episode 7 when we bring in one of the legends himself, Danny Webster of Backyard Rebellion. If there's anything we can do, however we can make it better, just reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We want to thank our host, Song from Pramanakta, as they have continued to support us and let us use their music. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you on a field real soon. Thank you. Have a great week.